guys, how's it going today? Thank you for tuning in to On and Off the Road again. Had the opportunity to take out a Polaris RZR ProXP, which is a turbo 4-seater. I've done a brief walk around on a turbo 2-seater prior, and I'll put the video in the comments, the link for that, and you can check that out. But this one is a 4-seater. One thing I do remember on the 2-seater that I took out, it sounded a little bit noisier than others. And sport machines aren't known for being quiet. But being a 4-seater, you're a little bit farther away from the engine, at least in the driver's seat. So this one felt like it wasn't quite as noisy or as loud. I'm sure in the back seat it probably is a little bit louder. This one is fully loaded though. It has GPS, it has stereo, it has all those nice features of the ride command that Polaris does, and I will go into that on the walk around. But this one is a pretty cool unit. That's what I'm leaning against. It's right behind me here, and it is fun. Got to take it on the road a little bit, and on a brief stint off-road, just because I didn't have very much time with it. But this would be a great option for your family if you're going to go do some off-road. Could do a little bit of rock crawling if you put it in low range, but this one is really designed to be in open scenarios or on trails where you can go higher speeds. Great for sand dunes, desert racing or riding, driving, trails where you can kind of get on it a little bit. The back end on this thing, I just rode it in two-wheel drive and it'll break loose on pavement. So it's definitely got the ponies to get you going. Have a turbo boost gauge if you want to look at that on the screen, and I go through that too on the walk around. But let's get into that, and it's a fun machine. It's definitely something I would consider with my family. I do have 3 kids, so I'd have to add a bump seat, but that's not out of the question either. So one thing I would say is if you're looking at a used machine on these, 4-seaters typically are not abused as much as a 2-seater. 4-seaters, typically because it's a family or 4 adults or something like that, they're just not hammered as hard as a 2-seater. So if you're looking at used ones, now I can't say that's the same across the board, but that's kind of how it goes. The lower the miles you can find, the better. Something that has somewhere in that 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 miles on a machine, that's getting to be pretty high for a sport machine. Kind of, if you're looking at in car terms, 5,000 miles is sort of what you look at, like that might be 100,000 miles in a car. So you're getting up there. Now you can take care of it and they'll go more than that if you do your servicing and all of that kind of thing. But just keep that in mind. You just never know service history on vehicles unless you happen to know the person. So that's my 2 cents on that. But let's get into that walk around, and here we go. Okay guys, here's some off-road testing. Here we go. A 2021, it actually might even be a 22, Polaris RZR ProXP, which is a turbo parallel twin, and this is the 4-seater version. This thing is fully loaded, It is by no means a slow machine. It's got the live valve Fox shocks, which you can control on the dash. You can hear it idle in there. These things get with it. Had the opportunity to take it out a little bit, and want to thank Sturgis Motorsports for letting me do that. Itty bitty trunk on there, just enough for some kind of a small cooler. But this is one of those sport machines that you can go have a lot of fun in. You can go cruise. Substantial shocks and their travel. And you can tell here, that's the belt access, which a whole bunch of bolts. Doesn't look super user-friendly to get to, but I guess it depends on how you run it. I'm going to go back on this side to just check so we can take a look at the engine. Just trying to take a look and see. Doesn't look like it's totally awesome serviceably, but there's your oil check there. Fuel filler right there. And then you've got your suicide style doors. This is the rear. This one's set up with 4-point harnesses. And then you've got your front, which are also suicide or front opening in there. This one's fully set up. Grab bar. This one's got radio, GPS. This one is actually street legal because you can do that here in South Dakota. And those are the factory tires. LED lights. Definitely something you could add a winch on. Definitely not something you would want to put a plow on. You could, but they're just really not meant for that. They don't really have a good way to rev it and give you some sound of that engine. But we've got the idle running there. I'll show you the cockpit here. Climb in. Steering controls or gauges there you see are typical Polaris. Tells you what gear you're in. If you're in 4-wheel drive, you do have switches on this side also, which lights, 4-wheel drive there. And then over here, this is where the horn is. Then you've got your typical display here for your gauges if you want them. Your navigation. If you pair a phone, you can have details there. This one's for your radio. This is your volume for your radio or stereo. This is kind of your home button to get you where you have your adjustments and that sort of thing. And then you also have the dynamics, which gives you the option to see specifically where things are at as far as the ride on the machine. If you're at angle, if you're at some sort of a lean angle, you've got information up top, fuel, your direction you're pointing, your clock. Up here, you can touch on that. I think it's touchscreen. Or you can touch here on the steering wheel, and that will... Let's see, I've got to learn what I'm doing here. I think I go somehow there's a way to adjust what your suspension setting is on, and I figured out how to do it once. Now I can't seem to. So here you've got an option, engine temp, your elevation, voltage, heading. You can hit it again, and then these 4 change. So your turbo boost, odometer, engine temp, elevation, and then here is your active suspension. So when things are going, your brake, and then this is sort of like a compass, so you know kind of how things are going. And then here you got a couple things you can see on the dash. You do have steering wheel controls for your sound as well, but this one also has one of those half or third windshields, which they're okay. I've shared before what my thoughts on those, which I don't love, but they can do the job depending on how you're going to run it. This one has a roof on it. Cool machine, good for families, and they get with it. I do thank you for tuning in, and Have a great day. Be blessed. Tune into the next one.